The small vessel drifted through the void, looking woefully out of place against the backdrop of distant stars. Its hull was patchwork metal, riveted together in a way that hadn't been seen in civilized space for centuries. The propulsion system trailed a visible exhaust plume, wasting precious energy that any modern ship would have recycled. Commander Zextahar of the Galactic Confederation scout ship, Luminous Venture, leaned forward in his command chair, his scaled brow furrowing as he studied the vessel on the main view screen. "Magnify," he ordered, his voice betraying mild curiosity. The image zoomed in, revealing more details of the crude ship. Solar panels extended like awkward wings, and what appeared to be simple reaction thrusters dotted the hull. "Is that actual aluminum?" asked Lieutenant Vera Brown, the human tactical officer. She adjusted her uniform collar as she squinted at the display. "And those looked like chemical rockets." The bridge crew exchanged glances that ranged from amusement to disbelief. "The vessel appears to be on a deliberate course," reported Navigator Krill, his tentacles dancing across his console. "Not simply drifting. Its trajectory suggests intention." Commander Zextahar rose from his chair and approached the view screen. "Life signs." Science Officer Kelly Wright checked her readings. "Inconclusive, sir. There's some kind of primitive shielding that's interfering with our scans. Could be a single occupant in some form of suspended animation, but the technology is so basic." "Perhaps it's an automated probe," suggested Communications Officer Peter Gordon. His normally serious face broke into a smile. "Maybe we've discovered a new pre-warp civilization." Laughter rippled across the bridge. "Look at those welds," said Engineering Officer Liz Stone, pointing to the screen. "My Academy students could do better blindfolded." Even Zextahar couldn't suppress a chuckle. "It does appear rather quaint." Lieutenant Brown zoomed in further on what appeared to be markings on the ship's side. "There's writing, but it's not in the Confederation standard." "Put it through the translator," ordered Zextahar. After a moment, Gordon reported, "It says Pioneer Spirit, and below that, Earth Expeditionary Force." "Earth?" Zextahar repeated. "I'm not familiar with that system." "It's not in our databases, Commander," Wright confirmed after a quick search. "This could genuinely be first contact with an unknown species." The mood on the bridge shifted from amusement to professional interest. "Prepare the first contact protocols," ordered Zextahar, "and bring that ship into our hangar bay. Carefully." As the tractor beam engaged, the primitive vessel seemed to shudder in resistance. "Such inefficient design," muttered Stone. "They're burning fuel to maintain position even now." "Cut their engines remotely if possible," Zextahar instructed. "We don't want them damaging themselves or our ship." Gordon worked at his console. No response to standard override frequencies. Their computing systems must be equally primitive. "Use the tractor beam at minimum power," Zextahar decided. "Bring it in slowly." The small ship was gently pulled toward the massive Confederation vessel. As it drew closer, the contrast became even more stark, like a simple wooden boat being retrieved by a modern ocean liner. "Alert medical to stand by," said Zextahar. "And security as well, though I doubt whatever pilot emerges from that contraption will pose much threat." The bridge crew nodded, still occasionally glancing at the primitive ship with expressions of bemused superiority. "First contact procedures are rarely this entertaining," Wright remarked. Zextahar settled back into his command chair. "Log this encounter. Note that we discovered what appears to be a pre-Confederation level civilized species utilizing outdated technology. Preliminary assessment: minimal technological threat, potential for cultural exchange pending communication establishment." Little did they know that their assessment would soon be dramatically revised. Lieutenant Sam Miller stood at the observation window, watching as the tractor beam slowly guided the primitive vessel into the docking bay of the astral horizon. His blue eyes narrowed as he studied every detail of the peculiar craft. "What do you make of it, Lieutenant?" asked Captain Nora Wilson, stepping beside him. "It's unlike anything I've seen before," "Captain," Sam replied. "The design is rudimentary, but there's something deliberate about it." The small ship settled onto the deck with a gentle thud. Up close, it looked even more primitive. The hull was scratched and discolored from what appeared to be radiation exposure. Ancient-looking solar panels extended from its sides, and what looked like actual glass viewports dotted the forward section. "Our scans indicate the ship is using hydrocarbon combustion for propulsion," reported Chief Engineer Olivia Daniels as she joined them. She brushed her curly red hair from her face, unable to hide her professional curiosity. "And those solar panels are only about 20% efficient. It's practically Stone Age technology by our standards." Captain Wilson frowned, yet it made it this far into deep space. "That's what puzzles me," Olivia admitted. "By all rights, this thing shouldn't have made it past its own solar system, let alone to the edge of Confederation space." The science team assembled around the vessel, keeping a respectful distance as their instruments analyzed every aspect of the ship. "I'm picking up minimal life support systems," said Science Officer Greg Hunter. "And there's some kind of primitive stasis chamber inside. I think there might be a pilot on board, in suspended animation." "Can we communicate with the ship's computer?" Sam asked. Communications specialist Nicole Adams shook her head. "I've tried every standard protocol. Their system is using binary code and simple radio waves. It's like trying to talk to a pocket calculator." "The ship appears to be on a programmed course," Greg added. "Despite its primitive nature, it's been maintaining a steady trajectory toward the Arcturus system for what must have been years." "Why would anyone send such an outdated vessel on such a long journey?" wondered Captain Wilson. Olivia walked slowly around the ship, her scanner humming. "The materials are interesting. This isn't just aluminum. It's reinforced with carbon fibers in a pattern I haven't seen before. And look at these heat shields." She pointed to dark panels along the underside. "They're designed to withstand incredible temperatures." Sam noticed something else. "The ship has no weapons systems, not even defensive ones." "A peaceful expedition," suggested Nicole. "Or they simply didn't have the technology," said Greg. Captain Wilson made her decision. "Let's find out who's piloting this thing. Prepare a boarding party. Full environmental precautions, but no weapons. If there is someone in stasis, we don't want to appear threatening when they wake up." Sam nodded and assembled his team. Jack Patterson from security, Olivia from engineering, and Ryan Fletcher from medical joined him in donning their environmental suits. "The ship's airlock is primitive but functional," Olivia reported after scanning it. "We should be able to interface with it manually." As they approached the airlock, Sam noticed strange markings etched into the metal beside it. "Nicole, can you translate this?" Nicole focused her translator device on the markings. "It appears to be instructions for manual operation of the airlock." Very practical. Whoever built this ship expected it to be boarded by aliens, Sam realized. Ryan Fletcher checked his medical scanner. "I'm definitely getting life signs now. One occupant, in suspended animation as we thought." The team exchanged glances of anticipation as Sam reached for the manual release lever of the airlock. "Everyone ready?" he asked. "We're about to make first contact with whoever thought this ship was suitable for interstellar travel." The airlock door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior far more sophisticated than the exterior had suggested. The airlock hissed as it sealed behind the boarding party. Sam Miller led the way, his environmental suit's lights illuminating the cramped interior of the primitive vessel. Despite the ship's small size, the interior layout seemed remarkably efficient. "Atmosphere reading shows oxygen-nitrogen mix," Ryan Fletcher reported, studying his medical scanner. "Similar to standard Confederation ratios, but higher oxygen content." Olivia Daniels ran her gloved hand along a panel of exposed circuitry. "Look at this wiring. It's copper-based, with simple insulation. But the configuration—" She paused, her expression shifting to one of surprise. "This is actually quite clever. They've created redundancy systems with minimal materials." The four-person team moved carefully through the narrow passage. The ship's interior was utilitarian, with not a centimeter of space wasted. Storage compartments lined the walls, each labeled with simple pictograms. Jack Patterson opened one of the compartments. "Ration packs," he announced, holding up a sealed foil package. "Very basic preservation methods, but they've been designed to last decades." Sam pointed toward the front of the ship. "The cockpit should be this way." As they moved forward, the passage widened slightly into what appeared to be a small living area. A single acceleration couch was bolted to the floor, surrounded by more storage and simple manual controls. The pilot lived here during active phases, Ryan surmised, examining the space. "But where's the stasis chamber?" Olivia pointed to a sealed hatch in the floor. "Below. That's why our initial scans were inconclusive. The chamber is shielded." Jack knelt and examined the hatch mechanism. Simple mechanical lock. No electronic override. He looked up at Sam. "Should I open it?" Sam nodded. "Carefully." The security officer turned the manual lock, and the hatch unsealed with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. Cool vapor drifted upward as the team peered into the small chamber below. Inside lay a single human figure in what looked like a gel-filled capsule. Various tubes and wires connected to monitoring equipment that hummed quietly. "The stasis technology is surprisingly advanced compared to the rest of the ship," Ryan said, scanning the occupant. "Metabolic rate reduced to near zero. Brain activity minimal at present." "Can you determine species?" Sam asked. Ryan adjusted his scanner. "Humanoid. Bictal. Internal skeletal structure. Carbon-based life form." He looked up, surprised. "Actually, they appear anatomically similar to humans from Earth colonies, but with some distinct differences. Denser muscle tissue. Stronger skeletal structure." Olivia had moved to what appeared to be the ship's main control console. "I found the ship's log. It's stored on physical media." She inserted a translation device into a port. "The system is accepting our interface. Simple, but compatible." The screen flickered to life, displaying rows of text in an unfamiliar language that the translator began to process. "Ship designation. Pioneer Spirit. Olivia Reed. Launched from Earth. That must be their home planet." She continued reading. "The log entries are extensive. This ship has been traveling for over 15 years at sublight speed." Jack whistled softly. 15 years in that tiny stasis pod. "The pilot knew it was a one-way journey," Olivia said, scrolling through more text. "They were sent to establish contact with advanced civilizations." Sam moved closer to the stasis chamber, studying the sleeping figure. "Can we wake them safely?" Ryan consulted his medical scanner. "The stasis system has an automated revival sequence. It appears to be designed for external activation." He pointed to a simple panel with a large button marked with a universal symbol for power or activation. "I believe we're meant to press this." Sam looked back at his team. Each nodded in turn. "All right," he said, reaching for the button. "Let's meet our visitor from Earth." His finger pressed the button, and the stasis chamber hummed to life. Indicators changed from blue to green as the revival process began. The pilot was waking up. The stasis pod hummed louder as its systems initiated the revival process. The team stepped back, giving the awakening pilot space. The gel-like substance surrounding the figure began to drain away through small ports at the bottom of the chamber. "Vitals are strengthening," Ryan reported, watching his medical scanner. "Heart rate increasing, brain activity spiking. Whoever this is, they're coming out of hibernation quickly." As the last of the gel drained away, they could see the pilot more clearly. It was a woman, appearing to be in her mid-30s by human standards. Her skin was tanned, her brown hair cut in a practical short style. She wore a simple jumpsuit with patches bearing symbols they didn't recognize. "She looks stronger than I expected," Jack observed, even after 15 years in stasis. The pod's clear cover slid open with a soft mechanical whir. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the woman's eyes snapped open, deep brown and immediately alert. Sam raised his empty hands in a universal gesture of peace. "We mean you no harm. I am Lieutenant Sam Miller of the Galactic Confederation vessel Astral Horizon." The woman's gaze darted to each of them, taking in their environmental suits and equipment. Then, without warning, she moved, faster than anyone anticipated. In one fluid motion, she vaulted from the pod and landed on her feet, showing no signs of muscle atrophy or disorientation that should have followed long-term stasis. "Impossible," Ryan whispered, checking his scanner again. "Her muscle density it's off the charts." The woman spoke, her voice clear and calm despite her recent awakening. "I am Carol Harper, Earth Expeditionary Force, First Contact Division." She studied them with intense focus. "You've intercepted my ship. Are you the dominant species in this sector?" Sam blinked, surprised by her directness. Yes. The Galactic Confederation oversees this sector of space. You're at the edge of our territory." Carol nodded, seeming unsurprised. "Your technology is advanced. As we hoped." She looked around at her ship. "I assume you've been analyzing my vessel." Olivia stepped forward. "Your ship's design is unusual by our standards." A slight smile crossed Carol's face. "You mean primitive?" "Well, yes," Olivia admitted. "The propulsion system alone is centuries behind our technology." "Yet it got me here," Carol replied. She stretched her arms, moving with a grace that seemed at odds with someone who should have been weakened by long-term stasis. "I need to check something." "Excuse me." Before anyone could react, she moved past them to the control console, her fingers flying over the keyboard. The screen displayed a series of readings that she studied intently. "Remarkable," Ryan said quietly, still scanning her. "Her physiology is showing no signs of stasis decay, and her bone density is nearly double what it should be for a humanoid of her size." Carol turned back to them. "My ship's sensors have confirmed what I suspected. Your atmospheric composition, your gravity settings, they're significantly different from Earth norms." Sam nodded. "Our ship maintains standard Confederation environmental settings." "Standard for you," Carol said. She pressed a button on her wrist device, and a holographic display appeared, showing comparative readings. "Your gravity is approximately 0.6 of Earth's. Your oxygen levels are lower, and your radiation shielding is far more extensive than what we require." The implications dawned on the team slowly. "You evolved on a high-gravity, high-radiation planet," Olivia realized. Carol nodded. "Earth is what you might consider a death world by your standards. We evolved there, adapted to conditions that would be harmful to most spacefaring species." She looked at their environmental suits. "You don't need those for my protection, but I might need them for yours." Sam removed his helmet, the others following suit. The air felt no different than their ship's atmosphere. "Why send such a—" Sam hesitated. "Primitive ship," Carol finished for him. "Because it was never about technological advancement. It was about the pilot." The team stared at her, finally understanding. They hadn't intercepted a backward civilization's desperate attempt at space travel. They had met an advanced scout from a species fundamentally stronger than their own. Carol Harper sat in the Astral Horizon's medical bay, calmly allowing Ryan Fletcher to conduct his examinations. Captain Nora Wilson had joined them, along with cultural specialist Diane Nelson, a tall woman with silver-streaked black hair who specialized in first contact situations. "Your physiology is fascinating," Ryan said, reviewing the scan results. "Your muscle fibers are nearly twice as dense as ours. Your skeletal structure contains significantly more calcium, and your cellular repair mechanisms are remarkably efficient." Carol nodded. "On Earth, we're just normal. Nothing special about me physically compared to other humans." Captain Wilson leaned forward. "Tell us about Earth. Why send a solo mission in such a basic vessel?" "Earth has been observing the stars for centuries," Carol explained. "We detected signals, evidence of advanced civilizations, but we also detected something else, indications that most spacefaring species evolved in environments much more gentle than ours. Diane took notes as Carol continued. Our scientists theorize that we might have evolutionary advantages in certain areas, despite being technologically behind. So we designed a mission to test that theory. By sending you alone in a deliberately primitive ship, Sam asked. Carol smiled. We needed to know how we would compare to advanced civilizations. If we'd sent our best technology, we'd only be testing our tech, not our people. She gestured to her simple jumpsuit. This mission was designed to establish first contact based on who we are, not what we can build. Ryan showed Captain Wilson the medical scans. Her lung capacity is remarkable, and her neural responses are faster than our baseline by nearly 20%. Earth's gravity is 1.3 times your standard, Carol explained. Our atmosphere is denser, with higher oxygen content. Our solar radiation levels would require your people to wear protection suits on our surface. Diane's eyes widened with understanding. Your ship wasn't primitive because you couldn't build better. It was primitive because it didn't need to be advanced, Carol finished. The goal was reaching you safely, not impressing you with our technology. Carol stood and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. Everyone noticed her confident, fluid movements, showing no signs of the muscle atrophy that should have followed 15 years in stasis. May I? She asked, picking up a metal instrument tray. At Captain Wilson's nod, Carol bent the solid metal tray with her bare hands, folding it in half with apparent ease. The room fell silent. On Earth, I'm not considered particularly strong, Carol said, setting down the bent tray. I was a scientist before volunteering for this mission, not a soldier or athlete. How many of you are there? Jack asked, his security training evident in his tone. Earth has about 9 billion humans, Carol replied. And we've sent out 20 ships like mine in different directions. I'm not the only one making contact right now. Captain Wilson processed this information carefully. What are your intentions, Miss Harper? What does Earth want from the Galactic Confederation? Carol turned, her expression open and diplomatic. Partnership, exchange of knowledge. Earth has much to learn from your technological advancements, and perhaps we have things to offer in return. Like your physical capabilities, Diane suggested. Among other things, Carol nodded. Our adaptability, our resilience. Environments you find hostile might be merely uncomfortable for us. Problems your species can't approach physically, we might be able to handle. And if we decline? Asked Jack, still wary. Carol's expression remained calm. Then I returned with that information. Earth has no hostile intentions. We simply wish to join the galactic community, if you'll have us. Diane stepped forward. I believe this could be the beginning of a beneficial relationship for both our peoples. Captain Wilson nodded slowly. I'll need to inform Confederation Command. She extended her hand to Carol in what she hoped was a recognizable gesture. But speaking personally, I welcome you and look forward to learning more about Earth. Carol took the captain's hand, carefully moderating her grip strength as she shook it. The feeling is mutual, Captain. This is exactly what we hoped for. The news of Carol Harper's arrival spread quickly throughout the astral horizon. Crew members found excuses to pass by the observation lounge where she was meeting with senior officers. Everyone wanted a glimpse of the human from Earth whose physical capabilities had become the subject of fascinated rumors. Carol sat comfortably at the conference table, seemingly unaware of the stir she had caused. Chief Engineer Olivia Daniels spread out diagrams of the pioneer spirit on the table between them. I still don't understand why you chose aluminum alloy for the outer hull, Olivia said. You must have better materials available. Carol nodded. We do. But aluminum with our carbon fiber reinforcement pattern provides excellent micrometeorite protection while remaining easy to repair in space. We chose materials based on functionality in unknown conditions, not prestige. Captain Wilson entered with Science Officer Greg Hunter, who carried a small metal cube. Ms. Harper, we'd like to demonstrate something, Greg said, placing the cube on the table. This is a standard strength test used in Confederation engineering. The material is a titanium-vanadium alloy that requires specialized tools to shape. Would you mind attempting to manipulate it? Carol glanced at Captain Wilson, who nodded encouragingly. She picked up the cube, testing its weight in her palm. Just squeeze it as hard as you can, Greg instructed. Carol closed her hand around the cube and applied pressure. Her expression remained neutral as the metal began to deform under her grip. When she opened her hand, the cube had deep finger impressions on each side. Greg's eyes widened. That's remarkable. Our strongest species can barely mark this material. It's not about raw strength, Carol explained. Earth's gravity conditions created denser muscle tissue and more efficient nerve responses. We don't exert more effort than you. Our bodies simply transfer energy more effectively. Sam Miller, who had been quietly observing, leaned forward. The ship's design makes more sense now. You didn't need artificial gravity systems because you're comfortable in variable conditions. Exactly, Carol confirmed. And our propulsion system might seem inefficient, but it was designed to function in radiation fields that would disable your more sensitive technology. We built for reliability, not speed or elegance. What about the lack of weapons? Jack Patterson asked. Carol smiled. That was a deliberate choice. We wanted to demonstrate peaceful intentions. Besides, she added, lifting the deformed metal cube, in an emergency, I am the weapon. The statement hung in the air, its implications clear without being threatening. Diane Nelson changed the subject. Tell us about Earth culture. How did your species develop under such conditions? Adaptability became our defining trait, Carol explained. Earth has wildly varying environments. Deserts, Arctic regions, mountains, oceans. Humans can survive in almost all of them with minimal technological assistance. Our history is one of constant adaptation and innovation. As she spoke, Carol reached for a glass of water. It slipped from her hand, but before it could spill, she caught it with reflexes so quick that several officers blinked in surprise. Sorry, she said, noticing their reaction. Average human reaction time. Captain Wilson's communication device chimed. Excuse me, she said, stepping aside to take the message. When she returned, her expression was serious. Confederation Command has responded to our report, she announced. They've requested immediate transport of Ms. Harper to Central Command for diplomatic discussions. They're very interested in establishing formal relations with Earth. Interested or concerned? Carol asked perceptively. Both, I suspect, Captain Wilson admitted. The discovery of a species with your physical capabilities is significant. Carol nodded understanding. On Earth, we anticipated this reaction. It's why we sent individual explorers rather than a fleet. Less intimidating. A wise decision, Diane agreed. Though I must say, after seeing what one human can do, the thought of 9 billion of you is rather impactful. Carol laughed, a warm, genuine sound. Most of us are ordinary people just living our lives. We're not an army or a threat. We're explorers, scientists, artists, just like you. We're simply built a little differently. The tension in the room eased slightly. Well, said Captain Wilson, we have a 3-day journey to Central Command. Plenty of time to learn more about each other. Carol's eyes sparkled with interest. I look forward to it. After all, learning about new cultures is why I volunteered for this mission in the first place. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation hummed with tense conversation. Representatives from 27 spacefaring species filled the tiered seating, their attention fixed on the center platform, where Carol Harper stood beside Diplomatic Officer Eric Johnson. Eric, a veteran negotiator with salt and pepper hair and calm blue eyes, felt unusually nervous. In his 30 years of service, he'd never introduced a species with such disruptive potential to the established order. The Council will come to order, announced High Chancellor Zek, his translucent tentacles waving for silence. We gather to discuss the official position of the Confederation regarding the newly discovered world called Earth. Carol stood tall in her Earth uniform. seemingly unaffected by the gravity settings that had been adjusted higher than normal at her request. "It still feels light," she had explained earlier when Eric asked about her comfort. "Before we begin formal proceedings," the Chancellor continued, "several council members have requested a demonstration of Earth-human capabilities. Ambassador Harper, do you consent?" Carol nodded. "I'm happy to comply, though I remind the Council that I am merely an average specimen of my species." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The notion that this physically impressive being was average disturbed many representatives. A series of tests had been arranged. Carol completed them one by one, lifting weights that would strain most Confederation power loaders, running at speeds that matched their best athletic species, and demonstrating reaction times that surpassed their fastest pilots. "Most impressive," said the Vexari representative, a reptilian being known for their warrior culture. "But physical prowess alone does not advance civilization. What of your technological achievements?" Carol activated a small projector she had brought from her ship. It displayed Earth's historical timeline. "By your standards, we developed slowly," she admitted. "Our first spaceflight occurred only 3 centuries ago. But consider why." She highlighted images of Earth's varied environments. "We evolved solving practical problems in diverse conditions. We built tools to survive our world, not to escape it." The Myriad representative, a collective intelligence represented by a hovering sphere, moved forward. "Our scans indicate your species has experienced numerous wars. Is this aggression inherent to your physiology?" Eric tensed, but Carol answered calmly. "We have fought wars, yes. But we've also created art, music, and literature that celebrates peace. Our strength doesn't define us. Our choices do. We're reaching out to the stars now because we choose cooperation over isolation." The chamber grew quiet as the representatives considered her words. "There is another matter," said Chancellor Zek. "Our intelligence reports that Earth has sent multiple ships similar to yours in different directions. Some might view this as an infiltration strategy." Several representatives nodded in agreement, their suspicion evident. Carol smiled. "If infiltration were our goal, would we send ships that you could so easily detect and mock? Would I freely tell you about the other missions?" She gestured to the bent metal cube she had demonstrated on the astral horizon, now displayed as evidence. "We sent multiple ships because space is vast, and finding advanced civilizations wasn't guaranteed. It was hope, not strategy, that guided our plan." Eric stepped forward. "The diplomatic courts has reviewed Earth's first contact protocols and found them exemplary. They approached with transparency and peaceful intent. Yet their physical capabilities could pose a security concern," argued the Vexari representative. "Or an incredible asset," countered Eric. "Imagine Confederation rescue teams with Earth-human endurance, working in environments too hostile for our current species." Chancellor Zek raised his tentacles for silence. "We must vote on formal recognition of Earth and potential membership path." The voting process began, representatives indicating their positions through their console interfaces. Carol stood perfectly still, her face neutral though Eric could sense her tension. Finally, Chancellor Zek announced, "By majority decision, the Confederation extends formal diplomatic recognition to Earth. A delegation will be assembled to visit your world and begin membership discussions." Carol's shoulders relaxed slightly, the only sign of her relief. As the session concluded, representatives surrounded Carol, their earlier mockery of her primitive ship forgotten in the rush to establish personal connections with this remarkable species ambassador. "They're practically falling over themselves now," Eric observed quietly. Carol's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Amazing what a simple demonstration can accomplish." "The universe just became a more interesting place," Eric replied. The pioneer spirit stood in a place of honor at the newly constructed Galactic Cooperation Museum. Its humble aluminum hull gleamed under carefully positioned lights, drawing attention from visitors of all species. A plaque beside it told the story of first contact between Earth and the Confederation. 6 months had passed since Carol Harper's arrival. The museum was crowded today for the official signing ceremony that would establish Earth as a probationary member of the Galactic Confederation. Carol stood near her ship, now wearing the blue and silver uniform of an Earth diplomat. She watched with satisfaction as Confederation citizens examined the vessel, no longer with mockery but with respectful curiosity. "Still proud of your little ship?" asked Eric Johnson, approaching with two delegates from the Myriad Collective. "More than ever," Carol replied, running her hand along the hull. It did exactly what it was designed to do. The Myriad delegates, floating spheres containing their colony intelligence, hovered closer. "We have studied your vessel's design extensively," one communicated through its translator. "The simplicity contains unexpected elegance. Our engineers now incorporate similar redundancy systems in our new ships." Carol smiled. "That's the greatest compliment you could give. Earth doesn't need to be the most advanced. We're happy to contribute what we can and learn where we must." Across the hall, the Earth delegation was arriving. 20 humans of various ethnicities and backgrounds walked confidently into the chamber, led by Earth Ambassador Alan Foster. Like Carol, they moved with the distinctive grace of their species, comfortable even in the lighter gravity of the Confederation hub. Chancellor Zek floated toward the center of the chamber, officially beginning the ceremony. "Today marks a historic expansion of our collective knowledge and capabilities," his translator projected. "The addition of Earth to our Confederation brings new perspectives and strengths." As the formal speeches continued, Carol found herself standing beside Dr. Nia Bennett, the Confederation's leading xenobiologist, who had spent months studying human physiology. "I've completed my comparative analysis," Nia whispered. "It's fascinating. Humans aren't actually the strongest species we've encountered in pure force generation. The Dragath can exert more power. You're not the fastest either. The Vex can achieve greater speeds in bursts. So what makes us special?" Carol asked. "Integration," Nia replied. "Most species specialize. They're either strong or fast or durable. Humans combine all these traits in balanced proportion. You can work in almost any environment, adapt to almost any condition, and maintain functionality longer than any species we studied. You're the generalists of the galaxy." Carol nodded. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'Jack of all trades, master of none, but better than a master of one.'" The signing procedure began. Ambassador Foster pressed his thumb to the treaty document, followed by representatives from each major Confederation species. When the final signature was recorded, the chamber erupted in applause. The Earth delegation mingled with Confederation representatives, beginning the real work of integration that would follow the ceremony. Captain Nora Wilson, newly promoted to Admiral, approached Carol. "You know, when we first spotted your ship, my crew could barely contain their laughter." "I know," Carol said with a grin. "I read the logs. Now we're designing hybrid vessels incorporating Earth construction principles for dangerous environments," Admiral Wilson said. "And your people will be leading our new deep space exploration teams." Eric joined them, holding a data tablet. "The first Confederation diplomatic mission to Earth departs next week. They're all nervous about the gravity." "They'll adapt," Carol assured him. "Just as we will. That's the point of all this. Different strengths, shared challenges." They looked up as the pioneer spirit was officially dedicated, a beam of light illuminating it from above. "You know what I find most remarkable," Admiral Wilson said. "Not your strength or your ship's design, but your foresight. Sending those ships out with minimal technology was a risk, but it prevented any perception of threat." Carol nodded. "We understood something fundamental. First impressions matter, but second impressions decide the relationship." "And what impression do you think Earth has made?" Eric asked. Carol watched as humans and aliens exchanged ideas across the chamber, the initial wariness now replaced by genuine curiosity on both sides. "I think we've shown that appearances can be deceiving," she said, "whether it's a seemingly primitive ship or an apparently advanced civilization. True strength isn't about looking impressive. It's about being adaptable enough to thrive anywhere.